All right, let's dive into something that most people never realize until it starts affecting them night after night. Your sleep doesn't start when your head hits the pillow. It starts hours before that, often with what's on your plate. I know that sounds simple, maybe even a little too obvious, but most of us underestimate just how much the food we eat, the timing of our meals, and the way we nourish our body throughout the day can impact the quality of our sleep at night. Think about it. Your body is one whole, interconnected system. What you put in during the day becomes the fuel, the chemistry, and even the hormones that run the show when it's time to rest. So if you're doing everything right at night, dark room, cool temperature, no screens, but you're still waking up at 3 a.m. or tossing and turning, it might be time to zoom out and take a look at your diet. Let's start by talking about blood sugar. This is a big one. Most people think blood sugar spikes are only a concern for diabetics or folks trying to lose weight. But here's the truth. Blood sugar roller coasters mess with your sleep, big time. When you eat a high sugar or high carb meal, especially later in the day, your blood sugar spikes. Then, a few hours later, it crashes. And guess what your body does when blood sugar crashes in the middle of the night? It wakes up. Sometimes with a racing heart, sometimes with anxious thoughts, sometimes just with that subtle, frustrating feeling of being wide awake for no reason. That's not random. That's your biology. And if your last meal was fast food or a sweet dessert, you might have just unknowingly triggered that midnight disruption. The good news is you can fix this. Not by cutting out everything delicious or becoming obsessive, but by being intentional. Let's talk timing. Your body has a natural rhythm, a circadian rhythm that likes to run on a predictable schedule. It loves consistency, with light, with temperature, and yes, with food. Eating at irregular times, especially eating late at night, throws your rhythm off. It keeps your digestion active when your body should be winding down. So ideally, you want to finish dinner at least 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. Give your body a chance to start digesting before it tries to shift into sleep mode. And if you really need a snack before bed, something small, gentle on the system, and blood sugar friendly like a handful of almonds or a piece of turkey, that's okay. But make it intentional. Make it calming. Don't bring a bag of chips to bed and expect deep sleep. And here's another thing nobody talks about: caffeine and hidden stimulants. Sure, we all know not to drink coffee at night, but what about that second or third cup in the afternoon? What about the energy drinks or the soda with lunch? Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours, which means if you drink a latte at 2 p.m., half of it is still in your system at 8 p.m. For sensitive sleepers, even a small amount can keep your nervous system just wired enough to delay deep sleep. And sometimes it's not even coffee, it's chocolate, green tea, pre-workout powders, or even certain medications. So pay attention. Do a little audit. Start noticing what goes into your body after noon and how it might be lingering longer than you think. Okay, I know that's already a lot. But this is the foundation. Food isn't just about energy, it's information. It's instruction. Every bite you take tells your body something. So the question becomes, what are you telling your body as bedtime approaches? Are you signaling safety, stability, nourishment? Or are you spiking and crashing, overstimulating, confusing the rhythm that your body is trying so hard to follow? We'll keep exploring this in the next part, but for now, just notice. Tonight, as you wind down, think back to what you ate today. Notice how you feel. This awareness, it's where change begins. So let's get even more practical now, because I know a lot of people hear this kind of advice and immediately think, okay, but what do I eat then? What's the actual plan? And I get it. You don't need vague rules or strict diets. You need a rhythm, a structure that supports both your energy during the day and your rest at night. And luckily, nature already gave us that rhythm. We just have to listen. Let's start in the morning. Breakfast matters more than most people think. And I'm not talking about just grabbing a muffin on the go or sipping coffee on an empty stomach. That spike crash pattern we talked about earlier, it often begins first thing in the morning. So if your breakfast is mostly sugar, like cereal, fruit juice, or sweetened yogurt, your blood sugar's going to soar and then drop, setting you up for mood swings, energy dips, and poor sleep later. Instead, you want to focus on protein and healthy fat in the morning. Think eggs, avocado, Greek yogurt, nuts, seeds, even a smoothie with protein powder. This gives your body steady fuel and stabilizes your mood, which, surprise, helps regulate your circadian rhythm. When your energy is steady throughout the day, your body knows when to be alert and when to wind down. Lunch is where you want to keep that momentum. Complex carbs like sweet potatoes, quinoa, or brown rice, paired with veggies and protein, that's the kind of meal that feeds your brain and your gut without overstimulating your system. Avoid heavy, greasy meals or those that leave you bloated or sleepy. Because again, if your body spends all its energy digesting, it's not going to have the clarity you need in the afternoon. And that can cascade into poor evening decisions, like reaching for sugar or caffeine to push through, which then disrupts your sleep. Dinner is your most strategic meal if your goal is better sleep. This is when you want to eat foods that are rich in magnesium, tryptophan, and B vitamins, the nutrients that support melatonin production and muscle relaxation. Think leafy greens, bananas, oats, turkey, salmon, brown rice, and chickpeas. You don't have to eat all of them every night, but incorporating one or two makes a real difference. Avoid spicy food or anything high in sugar late at night. And remember, alcohol might make you feel sleepy, but it actually disrupts your sleep cycle, especially REM, and leaves you feeling groggy in the morning. So if you're someone who reaches for a drink to unwind, ask yourself, is it helping you fall asleep, or is it keeping you from staying asleep? Now let's talk about hydration. Yes, water matters, but timing matters even more. If you chug a bunch of water right before bed, you're more likely to wake up to pee at 2 or 3 a.m. So front-load your hydration during the day. Sip consistently from morning to evening. Add electrolytes if you've been sweating a lot or feel depleted. But start to taper off your fluids in the hour or two before bed so your bladder doesn't interrupt your rest. And don't overlook the role of gut health. Your gut and your brain are constantly talking, and your gut makes a significant portion of your body's serotonin, which is the precursor to melatonin, the sleep hormone. If your gut's inflamed or imbalanced, it's going to show up in your sleep. So start thinking about foods that support gut health. Fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, and yogurt. Fiber-rich fruits and veggies. Bone broth. Even a little bit of these foods each day can start to shift things in the right direction. And of course, limit foods that cause inflammation. Highly processed snacks, excess sugar, seed oils. Your gut doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be nourished and not constantly under attack. What you eat matters, when you eat matters, and how you eat, mindfully, with awareness without rushing, matters too. So tonight, as you reflect on the day, ask yourself, did I support my sleep with my meals today? Not perfectly, just intentionally. Did I send signals of safety and steadiness to my body? Because every choice you make, even the small ones, either calms your nervous system or agitates it. And when you start choosing the calming path more often than not, your body starts to trust you. Your sleep starts to deepen, and you begin to feel a kind of rest that isn't just about hours, it's about harmony. All right, let's go even deeper, because now that you've got the basics of what to eat, when to eat, and how your gut plays into your sleep rhythm, there's another layer to this that's often overlooked. Emotional eating and the way stress influences our food choices, and ultimately, our sleep. We've all had those days where everything feels off. Maybe work was overwhelming, or you had a tough conversation, or you're just emotionally drained. And what happens? You reach for comfort. Maybe that's a pint of ice cream, a big plate of pasta, or something fried and salty. And in the moment, it feels like it's helping. But what it's really doing, aside from the short dopamine spike, is feeding the very cycle that's keeping you up at night. Here's the thing. When we eat in a state of stress, even healthy food, our digestion slows down. Our body prioritizes the stress response over breaking down nutrients. And if we're constantly in this state, not only does it affect how we absorb nutrients, but it also throws off our hunger cues, our cravings, and yes, our sleep patterns. Stress eating doesn't just affect your waistline or energy, it affects your circadian rhythm, your hormone regulation, and your blood sugar stability, all of which are essential for good sleep. So the work isn't just about choosing the right foods, it's about choosing them from a calm place, a conscious place. A place that isn't driven by urgency, but by care. Now I want you to think about your evenings. What's the emotional tone of your last meal of the day? Is it rushed? Distracted? Are you standing at the counter scrolling your phone or eating in front of the TV without even tasting your food? Or maybe you skip dinner entirely and end up snacking your way through the night? These patterns add up, and they matter, because when you disconnect from your food, you disconnect from your body. And that disconnection doesn't just disappear, it follows you into bed. Your body doesn't feel held, it doesn't feel nourished, it feels unsettled, unfinished. And that unease is part of why your mind keeps spinning when the lights go out. So what's the antidote? It's simple, but powerful, mindful eating. And no, that doesn't mean chewing each bite 50 times in silence or doing some rigid spiritual ritual around food. It just means coming back to presence, sitting down, breathing before you eat, noticing the colors on your plate, tasting your food, putting the fork down between bites, eating without multitasking, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Even if it's just once a day, because those little pauses, they retrain your nervous system. They tell your body it's safe now. We're not in a rush. We're not under attack. You can rest. And here's something else to think about. What's the story you tell yourself about food? Do you feel guilt after eating something indulgent? Do you restrict all day and then binge at night? Do you eat because you're actually hungry? Or because you're bored, anxious, lonely? These aren't judgmental questions, they're invitations to notice. Because when we start bringing curiosity to our eating habits instead of shame, everything starts to shift. We stop punishing ourselves. We start caring for ourselves. And that shift, from control to compassion, is the same shift that heals sleep anxiety. So the next time you feel that late-night urge to snack, Pause. Ask yourself, what am I really hungry for? Is it food? Or is it comfort? Is it connection? Is it relief from boredom? And if it's not truly hunger, can you give yourself something else? Maybe it's a cup of tea. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's stepping outside and breathing fresh air for a minute. The goal isn't to never snack again. It's to bring awareness to your patterns. Because that awareness, it's what sets you free. This part of the work is deep. It's not just about nutrition. It's about the relationship you have with your body, your emotions, and your habits. But when you start to heal this layer, when you stop using food as a numbing tool and start using it as a nourishment tool, your sleep starts to change in ways you didn't think possible. Not just because your blood sugar is stable or your digestion is smooth, but because your whole system feels cared for, safe, at peace. And that's the soil where deep, natural sleep grows best. So here we are, wrapping up this episode on something so simple yet so often ignored. The way food and sleep are intertwined in ways we're just beginning to honor. And if you've made it this far, really sat with all of this, I want you to pause for a second and just breathe, because what you're doing isn't small. You're learning to listen to your body in a way that's deeper than just sleep hacks or nutrition tips. You're learning to care, to tune in, to respond instead of react. And that's where transformation begins. We've covered a lot. The science behind blood sugar and how your meals impact nighttime wake-ups, the role of gut health and nutrient timing, the emotional relationship we have with food, and how that bleeds into our sleep. But more than any of that, what I hope you're taking from this is that rest doesn't happen in isolation. It doesn't begin when the lights go out. It begins with every choice you make to support your body, your emotions, your nervous system, all day long. So what do you do with all of this now? Start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire diet overnight. That's not sustainable. That's not the point. Instead, maybe tomorrow morning you swap your sugary cereal for something with protein. Maybe you make your lunch a little more colorful. Maybe you slow down at dinner and actually chew your food. Maybe you skip that afternoon coffee and go for a walk instead. Maybe you listen to your cravings without shame and start asking what they're really trying to tell you. These are the micro shifts that build macro change. These are the ways we whisper to our body, I'm paying attention. I'm on your side, you're safe now. And if you're someone who's struggled with sleep for a long time, who's tried all the routines and all the supplements and still wakes up feeling like something's missing, maybe this is the piece. Maybe your body isn't broken. Maybe it's just been asking for support in a language you didn't realize it was speaking. Maybe it's time to feed yourself, not just for fuel or function, but for rest, for calm, for that deep exhale at the end of the day that says, I'm nourished, I can let go. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to eat clean every meal. You don't have to fix your relationship with food in 1 week. This isn't about rules, it's about rhythm, your rhythm. And the beautiful thing is, your body already knows how to sleep. It knows how to rest. It's just waiting for you to create the conditions where that rest feels possible again. And food, the right food at the right time with the right intention, is one of the most loving ways to do that. So tonight, as you wind down, maybe take a moment to check in. What did you feed your body today? What did you feed your heart? What signals did you send of safety, of stress, of care? And what's one small thing you can do differently tomorrow? Not as punishment, not as pressure, but as practice, as an offering. Because this noticing, this choosing, this becoming, this is the work. This is the path back to natural, effortless, beautiful sleep. If this episode spoke to you, if you feel even the tiniest bit more connected to your body or your rest, I'd love for you to subscribe to the Daily Health Shift. That's where we go deeper every week into real conversations, real tools, and real stories that help you live in better alignment with what your body actually needs. And if you know someone who struggles with sleep and never thought food could be part of the reason, maybe share this with them. Not as advice, not as another thing to fix, but as a quiet reminder. There's more to the story, and sometimes the simplest changes make the deepest impact. You deserve rest, not just at night, but all day long. And with every bite, every breath, every mindful pause, you're getting closer.